going on, fellas? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day because I'm having a wonderful day. And today, this wonderful day, we'll be automating our GitHub repos. Now, I don't know about you, but this has been frustrating. Every time you'll have to go to your GitHub, create a folder remotely or create a repo remotely, and then do that locally on your machine, and then connect them, and doing this over and over again. That is not acceptable. Okay, how about we run one command on our command line and shebang, there you go, done, over, and you have your repo, everything good to go. So without talking further, is that even a thing? Let's get right into it. First things first, you need to go over to your GitHub account, head over to settings, all the way down, go into developer settings and click on personal access token, and this is where you're going to be generating your new token. So click on generate new token and fill in some notes over here for this, in this case, for GitHub automation, I guess. And we are going to click on repo as well as the admin, and admin because if we want to deal with organizations in this case. Click on generate new token, and there you have it. That's your access token. So copy this for now, and we are going to use this later. And now it's time for the fun part. Let's go about creating our shell script. But before we do that, I like to create a single repo for all of my GitHub projects so I can keep track of all of the projects. So I'm going to create a new directory called projects, and within that directory we're going to create another one for our automation script. And now we can go about creating a new shell script in this folder, and we'll name it automate_github.sh. It stands for a shell script. So first, let's create a new variable called token, and that's the GitHub token where we're going to just copy paste that right here. Let's create another variable for our username, and in a minute we're going to see why we need these. And this is where all of the magic happens. We're going to create a function called create, and this is what gets called when we use create from our command line. So when we run create and the name of our repository, this is the piece of code that gets called. And now we can store the repository name, whatever name that we pass through our command line. So create and the name of our repository, that's going to be our first argument. You can pass as many arguments as you want. In this case, I'm just consuming one argument, and that is going to be our repository name. Next, we're going to create another variable called clone_URL, and what this is storing is a URL path to the repo on how you can clone that repo. So it's mainly in the format of github.com / the name of our username, our GitHub username / the name of our repo.git. And we know what our name of our repo is going to be because it's whatever repo name that we passed in as the argument to our shell script. Now we can create a folder locally for the repository with the same name as the repo name, and this will go within the projects folder that is dedicated only for our GitHub projects. And this is going to be the interesting part right here. Now all we have to do is, since we're going to call an API, let's create a JSON object. And within the JSON object, we're going to pass in a couple of parameters that our repo needs, such as our name, description, and a few other stuff, private and has wiki, and so on and so forth. So one thing I wasn't able to find out on how do I initialize a README file using the API, because I know that if I go to a website, I can initialize it from there. But if you guys do find out on how to use an API and initialize a README within an API, please leave a comment below and I'll definitely have a look. Now we can run a curl command and call the GitHub's API. We can do that by saying curl, passing in the headers as well, and in headers we're going to pass in authorization with the token that we have for our GitHub, as well as passing the data, that is our JSON object that we created, and lastly the URL, and that's going to be github.sh github.com/ or api.github.com/users/repo. Now, just like you would do it without a script, all we are doing right now is we are cloning the repo that we have remotely within the local folder that we created earlier. So we can just run our git clone command and pretty much clone our remote repo within our local repo. So now they both are synced. Alright, so the next step is optional. You might not have to do this, but I like to have a README file with every project. So let's head into our repo, the local folder, and let's create a README file. And the way that I'm doing this is by literally just echoing some text into the readme.md file. And when you do that, obviously the remote and local are now not synced. Let's figure out a way to sync them. And now it's the same thing that you would do regardless when you're just initializing a new repo, which is just setting up the branch, do your whatever the main branch is, main or master, add everything in the repo, commit that, and lastly push it to your main branch. And you can add one last thing, which is open it up with your favorite text editor. If you do use Sublime, you should be jailed. I'm using VS Code, so all I have to do is just run code dot and I am good to go. And now we're done with our code. Oh, and I forgot to mention that if you're using Windows, this is not applicable, so all the work that you did so far is pretty much useless. I am just kidding. I won't do you like that. But now what we can do is add a single line to our bash rc or zshrc. I'm using zsh. It really depends on what you're using. Make sure it's the rc, not _profile, because it's two separate things. So just find out whatever you're using and go to your root directory, find the zshrc file. If you don't have it, create it, but just make sure that you are using one or the other, bash rc or zshrc, and we're going to add a single line to that file. And it's the moment of truth, so let's put this into action. We're going to run create and our name of our repo, and bam, there we go. So something happened, and it opened our code editor. And let's go check our GitHub, refresh, and there you go. We have a repo with our readme. Now I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you learned something new that you can share with your friends or use it for yourself. And if you did, please hit that like button and the subscribe button, because it helps with reaching out to other people that might find it interesting. And if you guys have any questions, leave a comment below, and the link to the script would be on my GitHub, which you can find in my description. Until next time.